100 Beers, 30 Days. I am here in sunny San Diego, the heart of the craft beer community. And I am at one of the most famous, loved, and well-respected breweries in all of California. It's the Karl Strauss Brewery. Now, I'm going to be meeting today with head brewmaster, Karl Segura. He makes some amazing beers, and Karl Strauss has really gone through a lot of changes over the last few years. So those of you craft beer drinkers that maybe think, I don't like Karl Strauss because I don't like lagers, or I'm not too sure, I think this episode is going to change your mind. So what do we have here?
This is our 23rd anniversary old ale, keeping in with your oak aged beers.
Right.
This is a beer that spent a year on the oak.
Okay.
It was brewed to commemorate our 23rd anniversary of brewing beer here in San Diego. We of course opened our downtown brewery in '89, and so we took an English old ale, which is a little bit obscure. You don't see a lot of them out there. It's a milder form of like barley wine. It's a less bitter barley wine, essentially. Thomas Hardy's is a good example of this style.
Delicious beer. Delicious.
And we wanted something that was going to allow all the oak flavor to come through. Something that wasn't going to fight with and, take over the oak. We really wanted the oak and the bourbon flavor from the oak to really show through. So we picked a beer that was a little milder, still has a lot of good alcoholic strength. You know, it's can't remember the exact ABV, 12.2 ABV.
Ooh, we're starting out big here today, people.
Oh, we're not playing.
Oh, that's the way I like it.
And it actually got stronger a little bit in the oak barrels. I think we put it in at about 10.5%. And as it aged for a year.
Ooh, big pour there.
Well, we're not playing.
All
It's
right,
a generous
like you
pour.
said.
We're going to dive right into this. And so it picked up a lot of bourbon flavor. It's really going to jump out at you, the bourbon. And it picked up a lot of the great oak flavors as well. We bought these oak barrels, about 40 of them from Heaven's Hill Distillery.
Oh, nice. Mm.
And they do a good job.
Well, then I would like to say happy anniversary to Karl Strauss and to you and your time here. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
You definitely get that bourbon.
A lot of oak and a lot of bourbon. That smell scares some people away.
I am from the South, and that is the smell I was pretty much raised on. Is
that right?
I cut my teeth on bourbon. As a young girl, probably shouldn't be telling this story on camera, but I started drinking Jim Beam and Evan Williams at far too young an age. But, in the South, that's what we do. We drink bourbon, and I guess maybe here they start out on tequila, maybe
I was drinking tequila at a young age here growing up in San Diego, down in Mexico for sure.
I don't even think we even knew what tequila was in North Carolina. It was all bourbon and other unsightly drinks.
Do this. This is our 22nd anniversary beer. A vanilla imperial stout. This was a beer that we aged in the oak barrels for a year. And we actually chopped up a bunch of vanilla beans and put them into the oak barrels with the beer. Let me give you a generous pour.
Okay.
And so what you get is, of course, a Russian Imperial Stout that's got a lot of vanilla and a lot of oak flavor in there. Now we blended this 25% with some fresher stuff, because when it came out of the barrels, man, it just had so much oak and so much vanilla flavor.
From work and you just want to relax and watch a movie or have a good dinner, this is your after dinner beer.
What do you pair this with?
I would pair this with, to bring out those coffee notes that I'm getting, maybe some sort of like flourless chocolate cake with maybe a coffee sort of creme anglaise maybe.
Nice.
I think would be lovely.
Flourless chocolate tort.
Exactly, with maybe a few roasted hazelnuts on top with the creme anglaise. I think would be lovely. Okay, so what's up next?
Well, this next beer is in a strange bottle here, because this was pulled right out of the oak barrels at the brewery literally about an hour ago.
I feel so honored. Thank you.
It's a Flanders Red Ale. We call it Flanded Leanders. Kind of a Simpsons thing.
Yeah.
But this has only been on the oak now for about 5 months. It was a beer that we soured with lactobacillus first. Well, it went through a typical normal fermentation first using Cali yeast. And it started with a little bit of a higher gravity, of course, to give it some residual sugar so that after fermentation the bacteria has something to eat and produce the wonderful lactic and sour flavors for us.
That I love so much.
Me too. And so it went into the barrels with only lactobacillus, and after it was in the barrels, we of course put a little Brettanomyces in there. So it's had both lacto and Brettanomyces. And the two work really great in conjunction with each other. The lactobacillus gives a really nice sort of sour cherry, a really dry flavor. And then the Brettanomyces kind of comes in, gives it a little bit of a gamey flavor sometimes, a little bit of a barney flavor. But I think it kind of takes there's whatever residual sugars are left, and I think kind of adds, it enhances the fruity aspects in there. Right now this is really young. It's, as I said, it's only been in the oak barrels for 5 months. You're definitely going to get a lot of sourness from this. It's going to be extremely dry, a lot of tart cherries, but you're also going to get some of that gamey aroma and flavor from the Brettanomyces that's still working. And well, we can give it a try and see what you think.
All right, sour power, here we go. Cheers.
Cheers. It's already got a little bit of oak coming through in the nose, even after only 5 months.
It does. And again, very balanced, gentle, not overwhelming in sort of any direction. Very drinkable. Now, so this brings the question up. 10 years ago in America, sours, didn't see them very much, right?
Yeah,
didn't see them. And if people wanted sours, they went Cantillon, they went to Belgium. There were a few pockets here and there, but pretty much couldn't find it. How do you see that how do you feel about this huge sour explosion that we're having now? I mean, there was a whole conference on it in the CBC with some of the brewers talking about the production of sour ales, and I sat there the whole time thinking, wow, I mean, we have really come into this huge new era of sour beers. What do you think about that?
10 years ago, I was finding them. Yeah. I was drinking sour beers 10 years ago. My favorite was Liefmann's Gutenbond. And I think was carried by Southern Wine and Spirits. And I was buying that by the case, and I was laying it down for a couple years and drinking it, and it's just a wonderful beer, the sweet and sour acting at the same time. But now this sour thing is just blowing up.
Yeah. And
there's so many more styles out there, craft brewed brands that are doing really well, and it's pretty cool to see. You know, for a person who's been drinking sour beers now for 15 years, people see them being accepted and drinking them, and to see the popularity of it's pretty cool.
Well, and what I love as a former wine gal, and you know, my viewers out there know that my background's in wine, and Brettanomyces is, you know, it's so you know, feared in American winemaking. Now in France, it's embraced. You know, Northern Rhone wines, Southern Rhone wines, Languedoc wines, a lot of times have that bread influence. But for the most part, I mean, sometimes in Bordeaux, but for the most part, it is considered a spoilage yeast. And you know, don't bring it within anywhere of a winery. And it's, I think what's so amazing is how it has been so embraced and loved by the beer community, by craft brewers.
Well, Karl would be really scared, were he alive still today, that we've got lactobacillus and Brettanomyces in our brewery. And you're right, it is something that that winemakers and beer makers go to great lengths to keep out of the brewery, because once it's in there, it grabs hold, it's really hard to get rid of. But as you said, it's becoming so popular now that, and it's such a style that we love that, of course, we're doing it along with most everybody else. And for us, it's still new. We've only been doing it for the last 3 or 4 years, and we've been a company that's been around for 23. So.
Well, you're doing a great job of it, and you know, sours are great for this weather. I mean, you know, we live in Southern California. It's hot. I mean, that's why IPAs do so well, I think. Lighter beers like Hefeweizens and sessionable beers, and I think sours fit right into that. They're refreshing. They sort of wake you up, and actually, I think they're really good when you've had maybe too many IPAs and the hops are just sort of, coated the palate. Sours just cleanse it off, and you're ready, ready to keep going.
The dryness and the acidity makes it more refreshing in a climate like ours, which is warm, and in a day like today, which is what, 72 degrees outside.
Gorgeous.
You can drink a lot of these, and it's really thirst quenching, and I just see this. Some people, I think, are saying maybe this is a fad, but
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think too many people are loving it too much to let it go.
Yeah.
I certainly hope it's not a fad, because my beer cellar is full of sours. All right, well,
awesome.
this is delicious.
Well, now I know where to get some if I run dry.
All right.